hell's going on here? What's going on here, Cam? Should have shut the street down. We should get some cones. We should invest in some cones. Get some cones on Amazon. Yeah, just block off the streets. So that way they can't bring construction vehicles down here. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Spill the Beans. My boy Mike Fernandez from Legacy Boardroom is in town. Came in from Greenville. He actually went to school here in Charleston at the Citadel and got into the finance industry after college and has a lot of amazing things going on in both the residential side of things and now parlaying that into the commercial side of things. So you're going to get a ton of insight on more the finance side. I think he's got a lot of wisdom to share about the traditional finance sector and how to parlay that knowledge and that traditional education into kind of bootstrapping a commercial real estate portfolio. And I think he's going to share a lot of that. I've asked him to bring some stories and some insights on that front. So you're going to love this episode. He's got some big ambitions to get into some big projects and big opportunities over the course of the next 12 months and a lot of, again, wisdom to share. So check this out. Meet my boy Mike. Mike, what's up, buddy?
What's going on?
Dude, I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You are the second farthest person to travel to come and sit down and do this. You just met Tate, actually.
And where's he from?
And he came in, dude, he flew in from Utah.
Wow.
From Utah, right?
Just for the episode.
First one to fly in, yeah. Gonna hang out. We're gonna go.
That's amazing.
You're around all night, right?
Yep.
So we're gonna go we'll go grab dinner and hang out and grab some cocktails and
very cool.
See where the night goes. But all right, anyways, excited to have you in, buddy. You got a great story. You got a lot of good stuff going on. Young guy, doing some really, really cool stuff. Went to the Citadel here in Charleston. Now you're in upstate South Carolina. Yep. Give me your high level on kind of like your background and your story, and then we're going to dive deep into a bunch of different stuff.
Okay, cool. Born and raised Greenville, South Carolina. Family moved down from Connecticut when my mom was in high school, so they kind of planted their footprint in the upstate. Come from a real estate family, so I've got uncles who are real estate attorneys.
Are they all down here now?
They're in Greenville.
Yeah.
So primarily everyone's in like a 5 to 10 mile radius is the joke. So we've got like 120 people in a 5 mile radius. Big family.
Yeah, it's a big family.
So uncle's a broker, developer, builder. He's kind of been there, done that. So cut my teeth on learning the rental game at a young age, cleaning up houses. It was trash outs. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I kind of grew up, athlete, learning from him. Always had this desire for success, and I don't know if that comes from sports.
Yeah.
But just a lot of discipline, learning from him, and came to school down here in Charleston. I needed it. I was a little bit of a,
little animal,
getting after it in high school, getting in trouble, just the jock, to be completely honest.
I did the same thing.
Needed some discipline. So made a decision to come down here.
To the Citadel, which is like the opposite side of the spectrum. That'll definitely give you some discipline.
Yeah, man, the first day I got here, I remember I had this big smirk on my face, and looking back at it, they're probably like, I'm going to eat this kid up. We're going to show him, this doesn't fly here.
He's crying within weeks.
Thought I could talk myself out of everything, and man, I learned pretty quick that maybe I need to shut up and listen. So it was a learning curve.
Yeah.
But was very interested in real estate. I was playing football at the time at the Citadel, so I walked on the football team, but majored in business and knew I wanted to do something in the real estate field. It was just figuring it out more so. Where I could fit, and then took some internships while I was down here, worked with some local groups, and then went to Charlotte for a little bit and worked in some investment sales, doing retail brokerage with firms down there, and then graduated in the fall of 2017, moved out to Denver, Colorado, and was working for an asset manager out there. So I was actually wholesaling mutual funds and ETFs, and just wanted to learn some of the capital market side and just seeing what it looked like to be in a big investment firm, and was kind of cutting my teeth on the 9 to 5. It was suit and tie every day, just a grinder. And I was, I knew it was a means to an end. It was just necessary for that time in my life.
Yeah.
So
then that was out west, and then you came, then you went to New York, didn't you?
So in 2019, I had some conversations with my uncle about, moving back, wanting to get more involved in the commercial real estate. and he was building an apartment complex. So they were building 250 units. They had a site designated. It was a big multi-use site, so they were doing townhomes, a couple subdivisions in there. They're doing a Publix, doing a QT, and then they had the apartment complex in the middle that they were going to keep and develop. So we had talked about syndicating that deal at the time. And when I initially moved back to Greenville, which brought me back home, was to raise the money side of it. We went a few months, back and forth with people like Fatty, talking, what is this going to look like? He's a very old school guy. If you can't buy it twice, don't, stay away from leverage. Doesn't want to deal with investors. Just very cash oriented.
So you wanted to go out and raise capital for this deal, and he's like, no, we're just going to use our own?
Yeah, and we were talking to a debt and equity broker who was like, hey, I have tons of clients who have way less money than you do, and their portfolio is 10x yours because they use leverage.
Yeah.
So it was this, mental psychology thing to here's something that could be different, and what we might travel down this syndication route, and we ended up not, and I think it was best for them looking back. How they ended up partnering on the deal. And so was going to play a proponent in that, but I had just moved back home and I was like, man, I've got to figure it out.
So you were like, dude, you were like 24 at that time, right? 25?
23 years old. 23?
Yep. How are you going to go and raise, I mean, that had to be a $30 million, $50 million raise, right?
Yep.
So like did you think that you could go out and raise that capital?
At the time, I did. I don't know if that was just me being naive.
Dude, I love it.
Or just thinking big.
Ignorance on fire, man.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to cut a check for
but like
$30 million to this 23-year-old kid.
I mean, I think that's a big
I think there's leveraging
hurdle
to
overcome. Like why people who are watching this, who are younger, and they're like, dude, I want to go out and figure this out, but I don't have my own money, but nobody's going to lend to me because I'm 23 years old or 25 years old. Like, why would anybody invest in my projects? Why did you think that you could go out and raise money?
Because I knew that at that point, people invest in good deals, and they want security and they want to seek yield.
And you leaned on your uncle, who did have the track.
And I tied to the who. Right? I tied to the resource.
Yeah, you're not investing with me. You're investing in this project.
Here's
you're investing
the track
with
record,
this person. Right.
Exactly. Here's the project. Here's the location.
All you had to do is go knock on doors, explain the opportunity, and then
That's right. And connected with people who I had previously worked with, or family offices. So that was the idea. But they ended up deciding to go to the bank and do traditional. They put up the equity for the deal, went to the bank, did a construction loan, and now they are almost through leasing that building, and they're actually going to cash out, refinance that, and go do another project. So when I came back, I was like, and he said, we're not going to do this. I was at a point where, I'm at a fork in the road. I just moved across the country. I was 23 years old, making the six figures. That was most money I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And I blew it all.
Yeah.
I was in Denver.
It's usually what we do, man,
skiing,
when we're young.
Was fly fishing, camping, you name it. I was having a blast. I didn't think anything of putting money away, saving it. I was having a great time. And so I was at a point where, man, I've really got to find something to do. Yeah. And I don't want to go back and tuck my tail back to this company and say, oh man, you big guy with the big dreams, failed and coming back already. And that was something they said that reigned with me. It was like, if you're not making X amount within a couple years, you made the biggest mistake of your life. And I just kind of internalized that and kept listening to that. And it just led me on a journey of I think exploring, which is what we all do when you get out of college. You're trying to figure it out. I mean, I know a little bit about your story, being a broker and trying to just cut your teeth in a competitive market's tough. And so I just leaned on resources, and I really just started networking with investors in my market, sitting down, having a cup of coffee like we are, taking them out to lunch, meeting them at their office, and just saying, what are you doing? What are you interested in buying?
More operators than passive lenders, right?
Correct. More operators at this point, more people that were actively looking for deals, development deals, multifamily, packages of houses, you name it. I was just wanting to be a bird dog. I was like, I've got to make some money somehow. I've got to hustle. I've got to learn the business, and just met with investors. And I just started slowly but surely building up a network locally. And that's when I kind of heard about wholesaling.
On the single family side.
On the single family side.
So you're going backwards, man. You started in commercial, and then you're going backwards. All right. That's
very humbling.
That's okay.
Very humbling. But I spent all my money, man. I was broke.
Yeah,
I needed to find something to do.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. Let's get back into single family. No, I'm just kidding. Single family's all right.
Hey, this is my story. This is where it led me. So
no, I love it, dude.
I'm the dummy at the end of the day. But put a wholesaling course on a credit card, and I was like, I'm going to give myself 90 days to get a deal done. If not, man, I'm throwing the towel in, figuring it out. And so I remember right after that, I put it on a course. I met with a buddy who actually went to the Citadel, and I was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, you're making good money, you're in single family. I've never seen anyone make this good amount of money in single family. I was a retail broker before. At 18, selling houses, making 3% on 100 grand. It was nothing. And he's like, oh, I'm doing this thing called wholesaling. You wouldn't be interested in doing it. It's a little too hard for you. I was like, hard for me? Yeah, I'm up for the challenge.
Yeah.
And went to a conference after, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna dial my face off, get a deal, and I guess prove to myself, prove to my uncle, prove to everyone else that I can be self-sustainable on my own. And was I think it took me 30 days to get my first deal. Remember, it was $5,500, paid my credit card off, put some money in my pocket, and dumped the rest into marketing. And next deal was like 15 grand, next deal was 20 grand. I was kind of off and running, getting some traction, and started building up a team. And it got out of control, man.
Really?
It was like a college frat house.
Oh, I bet. Bunch of sales guys in there,
yeah, a bunch of
acquisitions
sales guys, acquisitions guys running crazy, shotgunning beers on Friday, and I was like, all right, not what I would envision. Like you said, step backwards. Was dealing with institutions, went to the frat house, figuring it out, doing some deals, and just always had this, drive to do bigger deals, I guess you could say, and always been interested in development, more on the commercial side. And so
you had the wholesaling business cranking away, making a bunch of money, and then you're just like, let's shut this thing down because I don't like the direction that it's going in?
Yep, I would say it was the direction. It didn't really align with the values I had and what I wanted for my life.
Yep.
And just I think there's surrounding
It's a bold move, man. It's a very mature thing to do at a young age when you're actually like, when you're coming from being broke, making a bunch of money, and all of a sudden you're like, I got to shut this thing down.
Yeah, in the first 12 months, I mean, we did 300 grand worth of revenue, and it was good, man. That was a ton of money for me at the time. In January of 20, I ended up just saying, look, I'm ready to kind of close this down, and I want to focus solely on growing my commercial business, being a principal in deals, not being a broker, and just what does that look like. And so it was definitely a journey of surrounding myself with the right people and just having mentors like yourself. And I would say all of 20, we're doing probably 10 deals a month at that time. I slowed down to about 5 and just restructured that company a little bit, putting some job descriptions in place, SOPs.
So you kept on rocking and rolling. You just let all the sales guys go, and you just kind of...
Yeah, I actually cut bait.
Because
we had, I'd bought a ton of houses in 20, and so I bought about 25 houses that I turned into mortgages. I owner financed those houses, and so I had some income coming in.
Nice.
So I was able to afford to say, let me cut some of this active income. I've got the owner finance deals paying. Yep. And so just restructured that business.
Love it. So then, so keep going.
Yeah. So was there, met a group called the SEC, not the Securities Exchange Commission, but a Society of Exchange Counselors, and started going to some local meetings. And
what is that?
It is a group of what they call exchangers, and so their claim to fame is that they're a counselor, not a realtor or a broker. And so it's counseling their client to, if I can take them in a better position from where they are today to where they want to go at the most tax efficient way and the most growth mindset behind it of how do we grow this portfolio to reach the goals that we're trying to get. So it's a group of people like yourself. I mean, there's a guy in there, LDG. I think they're at 58,000 units that they've got. They're one of the largest affordable housing providers.
These are active operators who are out there doing deals.
Yep. So there's brokers that are solely represent people like them. There's operators in there. There's people that are developers, developing Hiltons. So it's big developers.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, do me a quick favor. Give me your best takeaway so far from this episode of Spill the Beans in the comments below. Smash the like button. Show me some love, please. And also, share this, subscribe to the channel, so that way you get all the new episodes of Spill the Beans. Appreciate you. All right, so you were talking about who are the people were at the SEC
got in this
thing.
Organization, had no clue what it was. Was like, what the heck is exchanging outside of a 1031? Didn't know what it was. The guy that I first met with in Greenville.
What's the idea is not return on investments, return on equity, right? Like how do I take the equity in these assets and how do I get the highest and best return on that equity in a, and move it from one asset to another asset without the tax liability. Is that kind of the general premise of it?
You've got a bigger concept than most people. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. So, and it's not just a bunch of like title companies or exchange companies that are there. It's a bunch of operators that are there.
Yes.
And people with new opportunities.
Like-minded people doing deals with each other.
Okay.
Cutting the deal right here. Hey, I've got $1 million property. I owe 500 on it. I'm kind of stagnant with my, there's not much more value add in this deal. I want to maximize the return on my 500.
Yep.
That might be through levering up. You're trying to grow your portfolio, go up.
Yeah. I mean, you look at your options, right? Like early on, I think everybody's focused on what's my return on investment, what's the cap rate I'm buying at, what's the cash on cash return. You get to a point where like you have a big portfolio, and now you got to ask yourself a different question, right? You got to ask yourself, hey, I have this $1 million or $10 million property.
That's right.
I owe $5 million on it. There's $5 million of equity. How do I value that equity? And I might, maybe they get $400,000 a year in cash flow, plus principal pay down, and you start adding up the value of holding onto it and continuing to pay down principal and then have that cash flow, and you're like, all right, my return on equity is 11% annually. What if I sold the property, did a 1031 or what if I sold the property and didn't do a 1031 exchange and I paid 20% long-term capital gains?
Correct.
And all of a sudden that $5 million of equity is really only $4 million. Could I go and invest it somewhere else and get better than an 11% return, tax advantaged, with depreciation and everything else? Or do I do a 1031 and roll it into a fund or another property, and then that it stays at $5 million, and can I generate more income? Right. That's the idea.
Go $5 million free and clear. To go, if you're older and you're wanting to, take some of that risk off the table, go free and clear.
Yeah.
It's all comes down to what are you trying to accomplish at the end of the day? What benefits are you seeking? And it's mainly focused on the benefits of the transaction.
Yeah.
Being cash flow, being shelter, that being going up. That could be coming off of debt.
Yeah.
So there's multiple options, and it's just operators coming in, trying to do deals with each other. Everyone knows what your goal is at the end of the day, trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So it's just giving me another tool in the tool belt, making offers on property.
I love it, man.
And helping and.
I mean, you're creating value for the seller. You're going in there and saying, hey, yeah, you could sell this at that price point, but if you give me a little bit less of a break, I can offer you some incentives on how to not pay taxes on the money that you're that you're going to get from the sale, and move over here.
It's much easier to buy a piece of property, in my opinion, than it is to sell.
Yeah.
So we take our inventory and we use that to go buy other inventory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I love that.
So
man.
We make offers on property.
That's another tool in the tool belt. It's like understanding creative financing and deal structure, like understanding the tax benefits and tax liabilities and tax. I wouldn't say kind of loopholes or utilizing the tax code in the best way for the seller. That's a big cost of selling a property.
Yep.
How do you get them to do that without absorbing that themselves? If you can solve that riddle for them, dude, it opens you up to a whole box of new opportunity.
So it opened me up, and I was like, man, I can do a lot more deals locally, and just another tool in the tool belt. And so kind of clinged on to a couple local mentors, and that's where we've really focused our business on is buying assets. And I thought it was going to take me forever to get to a certain point where either I had enough money in the bank to do it. I've had a fund raised, for example. Well, we don't really need that right now for what we're doing on our scale. We're able to buy property, we're able to develop property, and just by doing things a little bit differently. So that's where my business kind of transitioned to focusing on more of, let me build a portfolio and let me start this estate planning now.
So when you say you're building your portfolio and you're partnering up with some people locally, what does that look like? Are you guys buying apartments, multifamily, or are you guys buying commercial?
For me, primarily has been a lot of land deals. And I said, man, I wanted to get into
land development deals, right?
Yep. So we're doing primarily residential land development deals, that being single family, townhomes, and strictly on the residential side. So I started with just a couple small projects, We've got about 150 lots that I'm doing personally on the ground now throughout the upstate.
What are these? Are these build to sell, build to rent?
Build to sell, build to rent, build to trade.
Okay.
Build to finance.
Build to opportunity,
Yeah,
whatever
so
that looks like.
I'm not going to back myself in a corner where I've got to do this one project and here's got to be my exit. If I walk in the house,
When you
I want to
underwrite
know
it-
where the back door is, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm giving myself some flexibility for multiple exits.
So you're underwriting a deal with 4 different exit strategies, 3 different exit strategies, whatever, and you're obviously going to go for the one that has the highest return on investment.
Sure.
And if
That's
that
the
one
plan.
and if that one doesn't play out, or
Right.
the market shifts, or there's additional hurdles, then you'll go to B, C, and D,
Sure.
right?
Right.
Okay. And so what does
That's
that
what
look
I've been
like?
doing for the last year now.
Yeah.
Doing that, and then
You're still doing the wholesaling though, right?
I've got that company now where
Pretty automated.
We've got a team built. We meet probably 3 times a week, and it's just very structured. I dove into like the E-Myth with Michael Gerber and Traction,
Great books.
and just wanted to build some culture, some systems in place. And so I do have VAs running that. I do have an acquisitions guy. I do have a dispo guy, but that is more, I'd say, passive than it is. And I put that out of our market because I didn't want that distraction in town.
Yeah.
So everything is remote.
Is your goal to do all deals locally in Greenville?
I wouldn't say so. My goal would be to eliminate all of that and go all in on what we're doing.
Yeah.
I love the development game. I see there's such a big opportunity with the SEC group, just doing deals. And so I'd love to say, Tim, I'm all in on building this commercial business, whether that's
Yeah.
multifamily or industrial or development. That's where I'm figuring out right now.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the reason I wanted to get plugged into the mastermind to begin with.
I love the network, or the network you built.
Yep.
2, the location that you're in, man, is a really good location.
Phenomenal.
That Greenville area, first of all, it's a cool area, right? Weather's amazing.
Yep.
It's a great place in the country that I think is kind of a sleeper town that a lot of people don't know about Greenville, and it's right between Charlotte and Atlanta. It's like
Yep.
right in the middle, and you can't go from one to the other without going through Greenville. And it's just like there's so much opportunity and so much potential, and I think you got a lot of upside up there.
We do. And I mean, even nationwide, I'm going to the conferences and everyone has got a pinpoint between this South Carolina, North Carolina region. That's Charlotte. Obviously Charleston is huge,
Yep.
but Greenville is just on everyone's radar right now.
It's, Charleston's Charlotte's a primary market. Charleston's in that primary, secondary kind of
Yep.
market. Greenville's it's a secondary market for sure. It's kind of overshadowed by some of the other big markets around it, and I think it's such a big opportunity, man. I think it's a really, really cool town, and I would love to do some stuff up there. So, like, what does the next 12, 24 months look like ideally in your mind? Finding apartment buildings in those markets and taking those down, or is it developing apartment buildings in those markets?
I'd say more so taking them down, existing buildings that we could do a value add deal on, which is everyone in the multifamily business right now. So I know it's tough.
It's the fastest way to get into cash flow is to buy into cash flow, right?
Ask me how I know that. Dude, do a couple development deals.
Oh, dude, it's stressful, and I think right now with how hot the market is, you either got to be turning over a lot of stones in order to find those smoking deals, or you need to find like heavy value add, and heavy value add can be new development, right? And you got to create that, but it's very stressful doing that. One of the things that we started doing last year was instead of raising money on a single deal,
Okay.
we started packaging 2 deals. We'd buy a stabilized deal and then we'd package it with a new development
Sure.
deal. So that way the stabilized deal offered
The cash flow.
predictability,
Yep.
cash flow. It was a higher retail price, but seen as less risky. The new construction deal offered higher upside,
Yep.
got the investors the returns that they were looking for, seen as potentially more risky, but boost the returns
Sure.
pretty substantially.
How are you structuring those?
A parent LLC,
Yep.
and then we'd underwrite each deal and then just blend out the
The raise
ROI
on these 2.
between the
So
2
2
of them.
separate sellers, 2 separate deals, but you're bringing it together from a capital raising
Yep.
standpoint.
So we have a parent company that
Makes
the
sense.
investors all invest in,
Yep.
and then that's going to buy 2 deals, right? It's not like a fund over hundreds of deals or tens of
Sure.
deals even. It's 2 of them, so it's easy to underwrite those 2 deals
Yeah,
and then
makes a lot
just
of sense.
blend what the ROI looked like. And the investors liked it because it had the upside potential with eliminating the downside risk, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And had the beauty of both of those things. And so, the cash flow of the steady, stabilized deal offset, the non-cash flow over here, and then the upside of this one offset, the not having upside over on the stabilized project. So I think, again, when the market shifts, you got to create, have multiple tools in the tool belt, and you from the creative financing side and the SEC, meaning SEC like the exchange side, along with creatively structuring the deals in a certain way, allows you to just get into more deals and raise money and still check the boxes of what the investors need, check the boxes of what the seller needs, check the box of what you as the operator needs also,
But I think to answer your question, for the next 12 to 24 months, it's dialing in to get focused on what's my best ROI on time, I think. And that would look something like going all in on the multifamily business, going all in on the SEC meetings, which is a plethora of development, multifamily, industrial, you name it. You want the product, it's in the meeting.
So how do you add value to those people? Meaning, how can you add? I'm not asking how are you doing it right now. How can you add? What is their biggest bottleneck that those people are facing in that meeting?
I would say everyone's looking for deals right now. There's
it's all deal flow.
Of cash.
Everybody's got money.
In California, there's over $100 million in cash. Everyone's seeking inventory, and it's an inventory standpoint. I think that's the real estate market in general right now.
What kind of returns are these people looking for? What kind of
realistic? I would say they're not in that 12 to 15% that they need. They're more. They understand where the market's at. I've seen. They're not going to go buy a 3 and 4 cap. They're just not going to do that. You're going to get some institutional that might pay a little bit more, but I'd say in that 7 to 10% range.
That's the ROI people are looking for. So I have deal flow, right? I can turn it on at any given time. Interest rates are low enough where the primary debt that's on 80% of that deal is at 3%, right? If you get a nice asset, you can pay, right, 7%, 8% pref to those other investors because their money's only on 20% of that of the capital stack, right? Are these people bringing cash? Are they selling and transacting?
Cash and property. So cash, inventory. There's a little bit of everything in the room. Paper.
Sorry. So let me back up for a second. 1031. Somebody sells their property. They want a 1031 into one of my deals as an equity investor.
Okay.
If it's a big chunk of change, yeah, maybe. But if it's $100,000, dude, I can't do much with that because they need to be a tenant in common. They got to be a tick on that deal.
Bigger chunks of change.
Yeah. So these are bigger chunks of change where they can write $10
million worth of 1031s.
Where they can write the entire check on a $10 to $20 million deal or whatever. Which now it's okay them being tenants in common, and then we can carve up the profit share and the equity any way that we want. But they're gonna have to sign on the bank loan. I'm gonna have to sign on the bank loan. That kind of stuff. So that makes it a little bit more appealing to a guy like me who's bringing on investors. Because it's one individual who can stroke the check, and we can make it pretty simple and pretty easy.
Correct.
Yeah, that's fascinating, dude.
I think it's going in all in on rooms like that, networking with this mastermind, and kind of leaving the smaller stuff away, back to where I started. Let me kind of now recircumvent and go, I want to focus on some bigger deals, getting in the right rooms, and it's just building on the relationships that I've already been able to have. And
you're a guy with a finance background, right? You worked in finance, you majored or had a concentration in finance in college, and you understand the money side of things in a way that most operators don't, right? Most operators can go and swing the hammer and put the contractors in place and put the management in place and knock on doors and have the conversations and do the value add project management. A lot of them are not good at both raising money and the operations though. Dude, I feel like you're in a group, obviously, with Boardroom of a lot of operators who are coming across a lot of deals, and you can kind of be that bridge from the deal flow in certain groups. You're in that group already, and then you're in another group that has the money flow. How do you just get in the middle, connect the dots, take a piece of the equity, and arbitrage the cash, or get a piece of the equity in the deal, and then move on to the next one? I think that's a very leveraged position that you can be in, because you got to do that one time, and you give you go and raise the money or structure the deal one time. It takes you 60 or 90 days to do that, but now you have equity in that project for as long as the project's in place, So how many times can you do that? Like, that's a beautiful place to be, because you don't have the responsibilities of operations.
That's
you don't have the liabilities of the operation. You're not the one signing on the loans, taking on that liability. Yeah, your reputation's on the line from bringing the capital. But these aren't stupid people, dude. They don't have $10 to $40 million because they're dumb business people. They're going to underwrite the deal. They know that they're big boys, big girls, getting into a project with a certain operator, and they're going to know that they're going to take on that risk themselves. Unless somebody just blatantly steals, defrauds, or whatever.
That's right.
But the reality is, like, you can be kind of arm's length from the whole thing and still have equity in it forever by getting, providing value, like, right in the middle.
Sounds like I found what I'm going to be doing.
I'm telling you, man, I think that's your highest and best use of your time. Like, you understand the dynamics on the financial side better than a lot of other people, and I think you can help the operator structure it in a certain way that makes sense for them to go and buy it and pay a certain price point, and at the same time bringing that capital to dude, there's deal flow that we have right now. We've been turning down because I've been, like, cleaning up my portfolio and selling off the C-class and selling off the small stuff and all that.
Sure.
That now we're turning the spigot on again in order to have a bunch of deal flow. And I think, let's go work on a deal together, dude. Like, let's go put one together and, see how that plays out. And I can turn it on. We've been blessed to be able to create a network of rock star operators who want us to bring money to their deals and want me to sponsor their deals, their loans for them.
Well, it's good, and that's why I joined the boardroom to begin with, because I said, man, I don't know how to go day one to build this team for multifamily with operations, with worrying about the money, with worrying about the day-to-day of it, management. And I said, I understand the money, I understand how to do the capital stack, how to put investors in a safe position. It's like, I want to focus on the money part of it.
Love it.
And I've joined the boardroom to say, here, how do I go build a team from day one? And I don't have to do that.
No.
Is what you've showed me is I can get into deals today, doing it a little bit differently with structure and partnering with those people that are phenomenal at operations, right? Yep.
I'm going to put you on a phone call with my good buddy, who's from the world. You guys would hit it off. You guys even look similar. He's a stud. He's from New York. Good friend of mine. He's in our mastermind, and he's just kind of been hasn't been able to plug in because of some family commitments and stuff over the past year. So I got to connect you. He's from the financial sector, and he's raised over $1 billion for some of the big investment firms, doing the traditional stuff, and just realized, like, that's not where his investors should be. They need to be in real estate. They need to be in more tax sheltered type investments. And he's doing exactly what you should and want to be doing in our space. And you guys could light it up. He'd be a great connection for you. So anyways, I'll connect you on that side of things. But dude, that's exciting. I think it's important for people to understand, hey man, here's my strong suit. Here's what I'm really good at. I don't need to go and reinvent the wheel or try to become an expert or try to be Superman or Wonder Woman and be great at everything. Let me be a ninja, right? Like, I forget who it was. I don't know if it's Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee. I think it was Bruce Lee. Okay. And Bruce Lee, dude, before he was an actor, right? He was like one of the most elite martial artists in the entire world. Sure. And there's essentially a martial arts competition that all different, like jiu-jitsu and taekwondo and karate, and they all compete for who is the #1 martial artist in the entire world. Okay. And they go through this ascension program and competition where they're all competing, and there's a lot of people who are very good at many of them. And not only did Bruce Lee, he wasn't an expert in multiple martial arts, but he was only good at, he had like one great move, right? And he ended up winning this entire competition. They're like, dude, how did you do that? Did you learn taekwondo, and did you learn jiu-jitsu, and did you learn all these different types of delineations of martial arts? Sure. He goes, no. He goes, I learned one, and I really just perfected one move in that one thing. And nobody, didn't matter who they were or what their background was, could defend that one move. And that one, it was some leg sweep or whatever, and he was able to take down every single opponent because he was an expert and he was a master at one thing. Wow. Right? And so it shows you, like, I think about doctors. I think about the general practitioner who makes 150, 250 grand a year or whatever that is, versus like the heart surgeon, the neurosurgeon,
specialist.
the podiatrist. It doesn't even, the dentist who makes hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year because they're specialized, because they're an expert at one single thing. Yeah. And the more niche you are, the richer you become.
Well, even Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, he talks about general knowledge and having specialized knowledge, and the specialized knowledge is what we want to go after. So I would say this, and it's a good question for you, is in today's world, with all the shiny objects that we have in being an entrepreneur, trying to figure it out on your own, real estate alone, I mean, you've got rental, you've got development, you've got
of different ways to make money.
Anything and everything. How do you discipline yourself to focus on that one thing and becoming specialized?
Yeah,
for example, you're specialized in multifamily, right? Mm-hmm. That's all I think I could ever see you doing because you figured it out.
Yep.
And you've mastered it. So how do you work through that and figuring out?
I think it's one of those things where, at least for me, man, I had to get into and try everything before I figured out what I really liked. And I think knowing what the destination is so important. And many people are just like, I'll figure it out as I go. There's some general parameters and idea that you have in your mind of what you want your life to look like, and what you want your finances to look like. And you got to realize that, like, hey, okay, so single family is not going to get me to that spot. Once you figure out what the destination is, you're like, dude, that a single family is a Ford Pinto on getting me to the destination, right? I need a Ferrari to get me to the destination faster, or I need a private jet that's going to get me even there even quicker. So what do those things, figuring out what the destination is first, and then reverse engineering the path in order to get there. I knew as soon as I bought I bought a multifamily apartment building, that resonated with my goals. That resonated with my sense of efficiency. That resonated with my mindset. I knew that I wasn't good at customized single family flips, right? Like, I didn't have the emotional patience to deal with buyers of owner-occupied properties, you know? So I knew that I wanted to get into turnkey single-family rentals because I could just use the same paint, the same fixtures, the same flooring. I'd go in, put in the same, everything was the same. I like that. And then as soon as I got into an apartment, I was like, holy shit, this is, now I just go to one location to do it all, right?
Scalable.
And it's one utility bill, and it's one tax bill instead of 100 of them. And it made it that much more appealing to my sense of efficiencies. But I had to go through and try some of these other things out. But I also didn't have mentors before I figured that out, right? Like, you have now mentors, and you've been smart enough to surround yourself with people who are experienced in business and in real estate, who you can lean on, and you're wise enough person to be able to, like, okay, let me make sure that, you know, I like that information, I don't like that information, that resonates with me, that doesn't. And I think you just gotta, dude, have more conversations. You've done a really, really good job of having those conversations and being reflective on those conversations as well. So,
I've heard something good the other day when I was meeting with someone. They said you can listen to, you know, 2 or 3 mentors, and they're going to tell you things from a different perspective. And he said, not everything is solid gospel. He's like, filter it to what works for your life, and what you said is the vision for what you think you are wanting to go attain. It's like, so filter what makes sense for your life and where you're at today. And I always tell people, like, because I'm doing one thing doesn't mean you need to go do it. You need to go after what makes sense for your life where you are today. Like, you know, I'm young. I don't have kids right now. I have the freedom to go travel, to meet people like you, come pop down for a day. I got buddies that have younger kids. I'm like, it's a whole different lifestyle. So you've got to, I think, build something for yourself, and that's what I'm really focusing on. I'd say the last 6 months to a year is just internal reflection of, like, what do I really want out of life? Because I think once you start making money, you forget about the money side of it, and it's more of, how do I want to shape my life? Who do I want to surround myself with? What am I here for? In some bigger purpose. And
No, I 100% agree, man. It's money's important when you don't have money, right? And then once you start having money, there was I think it was a PBS special or something I watched, like, I don't even know, 5 years ago. It was like, dude, there's no difference in level of happiness. The whole program was about happiness. And they said, hey, when you make less than $50,000 a year and you don't know where your next meal's coming from, or, you know, I'm talking like as a household, and you got to feed 5 people or 6 people. And I think it's actually like whatever the number was, like $40,000 or $50,000 as a household income. You're feeding a family of 4. You're trying to, pay the bills, and you're trying to, send your kids to extracurriculars, and you're trying to put clothes on their back, keep a roof over your head, pay the, keep the heat on, and have new clothes and food on the table and all that stuff, right? Money's important, dude. Money's really important when you don't know what that looks like. Once you get to a level of income, and it's usually around, like, it was like $50,000 was like the I think the national average or something. Like, once you hit $50,000 as a household income, there's no difference in level of happiness whether you make $50,000 a year or $50 million a year. And guys like us, you're like, well, I still want to try it, right? Like, let me see. And I do think money gives you options.
I don't want to take your word for it.
Right. Yeah, let me be the one who judges that, right?
Yeah.
And I think you don't want, money definitely gives you options, right? It's nice to be able to go out to dinner and spend, $300 a head on dinner like we will tonight, right? And not even think about the bill. There's a level of peace, I think, that comes with that. But I'd go get a Chipotle burrito for $8 and be just as happy as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but it just gives you options of what you can do and where you can go and who you can sit down with and a lot of those things.
I think the point of this too is you've built a life that you're passionate about, and now I think this is, sprung into your education business.
Yeah.
Working with the mastermind group, and you just like to be a leader to people. So
Me
it's
too.
like, so when you wake up every day, you're not working, you're having fun, man. You're chasing something that you're passionate about. You feel purpose in your life, and I think that's what's most important.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating when you're scattering through trying to figure out what that is.
I realized when I got into different asset classes, self-storage, office, vacation rentals, and like some certain things that I got into that were just a distraction. They were a distraction. And when I hear somebody say, I want to be a serial entrepreneur, I am a serial entrepreneur, I'm like, dude, that doesn't impress me. It used to really impress me. I used to be like, I want to be a serial entrepreneur. And then I realized all serial entrepreneurs are broke, right? They're all, because none of them are an expert at anything, right? Exactly. Right? They're trying to figure out and keep all these balls in the air, and they're not focused on any one thing. The serial entrepreneur that builds a business, 100% focused on that business, sells it and then starts another one. Right. That to me is a true serial entrepreneur that I respect in that capacity.
Yep. And that was the E-myth for me. Like Michael Gerber's talking about, Roy Kroc built McDonald's to build and scale and sell. That was the sole purpose.
Yes.
He was laser focused on not flipping hamburgers, not frying fries. He was laser focused on, this is a real estate business. Let me get as many locations as I can. I'm going to scale it to sell. And that I think is the framework that no one's really looking at. They're got their hands in 10 different pots.
Yep.
I mean,
and they're like, let me just go and collect a bunch of assets, which it'll eventually work out, but I'll tell you, you'll be, instead of getting your destination by going this way and this way and this way and this way and this way, dude, the fastest way from point A to point B is this direct line, And so if you can stay focused and just stay on that line, and I will say, like, I know other entrepreneurs who are really good at launching a business, putting the right people in place, infrastructure. Mark, we talked about my buddy Mark Evans. He's really good at finding a great operator and putting that person in place. And I've developed a skill set in that as well, of being like, okay, now I have my education business, and here's who's going to run that business. Right. Here's who's going to run the investment company. Here's who's going to run the fund. Here's who's going to run the. And so, like, once you get to that point and you get really good at hiring the right people, you can be a serial entrepreneur and have your hands in many different things. But I'm still weary of getting involved in more than a handful of those things.
Okay.
I think, you're in a fortunate spot where you know what your skill set is, right? Like, you have experience in a certain industry or and really, dude, I think when you realize finance commands all other industries, you will always have value. If you can raise money, I don't give a shit what industry you get into, you are of value. And that's one of the things. Do you ever seen The Men Who Built America?
I haven't.
Dude!
I haven't.
All right. Jump on Amazon. I think it's free on Amazon or History Channel. The Men Who Built America. It's about the titans of industry at the turn of the last century. It's Rockefeller, Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, Vanderbilt's in there, and Henry Ford. So those 5 guys, you know what they were all good at? That's it.
Okay.
Just buy it on Amazon, watch it, and binge watch it. I watch it every year between Christmas and New Year's as I'm goal setting.
That's amazing.
And it's like reading a book a second time and a third time. You get these takeaways. One of the takeaways I realized in that is that each one of them, look at that, take an action. It's impressive, right? It's impressive. Seriously, that's a differentiator of people who, I'm going to do that when I get home.
I'll do that when I get
versus
home. Versus
you do it right then and there. Yep. What makes the difference? I don't know what makes the difference, but like some people do and some people don't. Yeah. It's wild.
I'll let you finish this thought. Yeah.
In that, I take a look at Carnegie, right? And he had a specialized knowledge in steel. But you know what I was also really good at? Was raising money. Rockefeller had a specialized knowledge in oil. But you know what else he was really good at? Raising money. J.P. Morgan had a specialized knowledge in finance and could raise the shit out of it. Dude, he raised so much money, he loaned money to the U.S. government.
That's amazing.
Amazing. It's remarkable. Henry Ford, he could go out and raise money, and he had specialized knowledge. He was an engineer, but he can go out and raise money. Each one of these guys had specialized knowledge of something, which is like, I think about myself I have specialized knowledge in multifamily real estate, but I also am really good at raising money.
Sure.
And the raising money aspect opens so many doors across everything. So you, coming from that world, dude, I think you've already, you know what it is. You just need somebody to tell you, like,
tiptoeing.
Stay in that and go deep into it, dude. Just own that aspect. If you can raise money, dude, you will be desired in every industry, in every asset class, and you just got to find great operators to then deploy it with, and it's game over.
So the story about you raising, I think it was $4 million in a weekend.
Yeah.
How did you do that? Because that's the most money you've raised at that point in that short of time frame.
By far. It was the most money I ever raised for a single deal was $900,000.
Before the $4 million.
Before that.
Wow.
And that deal came up, and I had to raise $4 million. Essentially, I got the news on a Friday. The investor wouldn't have the money. And we were closing on Monday morning.
Yep. So who strokes a check that quick for $4 million? And it could be a collective of people, but what's your pitch on that to say, I'm in a cram, here's a safe deal, this is a good opportunity? Yeah, did you already have the network, or this was, I need to now double down out of necessity to kind of build new relationships with investors?
I ended up.
That's a trust factor too.
Yeah. So it comes. That whole thing occurred. I didn't know where the money was going to come from.
Okay.
And so what I did was I wrote down a list of everybody that I knew in the real estate industry who had invested with me before, or anybody who just even I thought had money. Okay, put them all on a list, and I had them scattered all over the place, but I kind of organized an Excel spreadsheet, and then I knew that I couldn't get on the phone with everybody.
Sure.
So I simplified it, and I said, hey, especially over a weekend, nobody wants to go and read through a whole bunch of due diligence and a private placement memorandum and all this other garbage, right? So they want to see like an executive summary, and I created an executive summary, and then I put a bullet point of even abbreviating a 2 or 3 page executive summary into like 5 or 6 bullet points in an email. And I sent out text messages or emails to every single person I already had a relationship with or knew, and they knew me. And dude, what I found was there were a lot of people who knew me but didn't know how I raised money. They didn't know that I didn't even know that you offer these kinds of investments. I didn't know that. Dude, it was my fault for not
prior to
educating
social
people.
Media.
Yeah, before. I mean, I was on social media, but I wasn't educating people or talking about it.
Yep.
How I raise money and how I pay a fixed return and how I give equity and perpetuity and turn over their money in a handful of years and all this other stuff. I just talked about operating deals. I didn't really talk about how I brought on private money lenders. And
so there's a guy named Bill Allen who does 7-figure flipping.
Yeah.
And he has a capital raising class, and he says, you have to let the world know who your avatar is. He's like, if you are this stranger in shadow and you've got this mask on, no one's ever going to know that you raise capital for real estate.
You got to talk about it.
They can even invest with you. So it's like uncovering the veil of who you are and what you have to offer. So
I'm a super secret agent.
Like that was a pivotal moment for you then.
Yeah, dude, I'm going to go and I want to go and invest in a bunch of real estate, but I'm not going to tell anybody that I invest in real estate or that I bring on private money. Like in what world does that work? It doesn't. So, you know what I found though is like it's all about timing for investors. It's all about I sold my business and I got money to invest. I launched a product and I have money to invest. I retired and now I have a self-directed 401k or Roth IRA. Or I just sold my asset or refinanced my asset, recapitalized it, have a bunch of cash I need to redeploy. That doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
You got to stay in touch with them. You got to stay in front of them, let them know, and you got to stay front of mind.
Sure.
And I raised $4 million from 6 people, between $200,000 to $1.5 million, and those 6 people, 4 of them I had done deals with before.
Okay.
So that was the main thing. Do deals. Do deals, have little victories with everybody.
That's right. And
if you have little victories, there's one guy who brought $1.5 million over the course of a weekend, dude. Strokes me a check for $1.5 million that I had never done bigger than a $200,000 deal before.
But you had little successes.
3 small deals.
Right.
A $200,000 transactional funding deal, same day in money in, money out.
Yep.
A $160,000 deal that he loaned money on that actually went south, or it got extended. It was supposed to be paid back in 6 months, ended up being like 9 or 10 months.
Yep.
The deal took in order to get him paid back. And then another, like, I don't even know, like a $60,000 or $40,000 deal that did get paid back in time. But one of those 3 deals didn't even go the way that it was planned.
Yep.
But because I communicated, because I executed on the other deals, and I,
deals. That's right.
Dude, and I still paid him, and he saw how I did deals, even when the deal didn't go the way that it was planned.
Yep.
He felt good enough from doing a couple small deals to take $1.5 million, dude, that he scraped together and liquidated a bunch of accounts to stroke me a check for $1.5 million and go all in on Tim Bratz.
That's amazing.
Dude, because I had done little deals, because I had little victories with him in the past. So the story is, or the moral of the story is, go out and do deals, right?
That's right.
Go out and help people transact, even if they're small deals, 50 grand, 100 grand, 300 grand, 500 grand, help them get into some projects. And then when that $6 million check needs to be written, dude,
record.
You got the track record already. So go out and do deals. You know, have some little victories with people. Let them see how you operate.
How does someone today, in today's market environment, get started in those smaller deals when they're saying, here's my goal of 150 units, I've got to look for this 150 units, which you still should look for, but how do you do deals in the meantime? Is it okay to buy something smaller?
Yeah, I'd rather see the momentum.
Getting started.
I'd rather see the momentum going versus you waiting for that unicorn of a deal. I'd rather see you do some small deals. That guy loaned on 2 single-family houses and then a transactional funding on a 11-unit apartment building.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, he loans me $1.5 million on a 730-unit project.
That's amazing. He still invests with you today?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's actually heavy in crypto now.
Okay.
You'll meet him. He's going to be at the Legacy Summit in November.
Awesome.
And so you'll meet him. He's going to talk about how he's made a bunch of money in crypto. He is investing, and he actually just hit me up yesterday, the day before. He just sold one of his apartment buildings, wants to roll it over through a 1031 exchange into another deal, and he's looking for something with heavy depreciation and all that stuff. So, yeah, we're still doing deals. He's still a very good friend of mine, and a big contributor into a lot of cool stuff that we're doing.
That's amazing.
But it's how many of those relationships can you build? You know, and a lot of the people who didn't invest with me on that deal, I planted the seed. Now I educated them that I invest, and they've all invested. Dude, that's what actually probably put me on the map from all the podcasts I got started on, and the education business and the consulting and all this stuff, was that deal going south.
Really? And
it going bad, and me taking it down, and people seeing that and resonating with people, and then being like, oh dude, this guy overcame that. Holy shit, like
yeah, well, everyone today is, flashing the successes, and no one's talking about failures.
You see the highlight reels, man.
That's right.
And the highlight reels aren't what resonate with people.
No.
It's the tell me about the struggle, how you overcame it, and then how you turned that downside into a win.
That's right.
So it's good stuff, man. Well, dude, I appreciate you being here.
No, thank you.
I'm excited to continue the conversation at over drinks and dinner tonight.
There we go.
And
let's get some deals done, man.
Dude, let's go do some deals, bro. I appreciate you, homie.
Yes,
Awesome, some great takeaways. I hope you guys got a ton of information, ton of value from that. Give me your biggest takeaway and in the comment section below of some of the things that you got out of this episode, and would love the direction that you think you would point Mike in, knowing his skill sets now. And by the way, if you got some deal flow, connect with him on social media. He's raising a lot of capital for a lot of different projects and can help deploy it into different deals. So hit him up if you need access to some capital. Give him a follow on social media, and please like, subscribe, share this episode with anybody else that you think might get a ton of value out of this. And until next time, I'll see you on Spill the Beans.